Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm Farah Sharif from Egypt. I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering, and I currently work as a Salesforce developer at Mantra Group, a Salesforce customer in the Middle East. I started learning Salesforce 2 years ago, and I have been growing my skills ever since then to become 8 times certified and Golden Hoodie winner. I'm also the leader of the Cairo Salesforce developer group, and we have some very interesting people speaking at our meetups, so you can check the meeting recordings on YouTube. And you can connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn. I am going to start with an intro about Lightning Web Components. Lightning Web Components is, with no doubt, the best way to create an amazing experience for users in the Salesforce platform. And there are a number of reasons why. Lightning Web Components is aligned with the modern web standards, which provides what is necessary to perform well in browsers supported by Salesforce. And this means that developers don't need to be as familiar with the Salesforce architecture. It also provides code reusability for quicker and easier deployments. It's also lightweight, and it delivers exceptional performance, as we are going to see in a while. It's also easy to use because most of the code you write is standard JavaScript and HTML. And in order to start with your first Lightning Web Component, you must do some setup with Visual Studio Code and Salesforce CLI. And that's because you can create Lightning Web Components using the developer console. I won't go through the setup, but I found those two modules on Trailhead very helpful for a smooth setup of Lightning Web Components. So I recommend anyone who is starting to go through them. As you can see, the component here is just a basic search for accounts. We have the box where you enter the account name and click search, and then the results are displayed in a table. So when I enter UNI, for example, it displays all the accounts where the name contains those 3 letters, okay? So I'm just going to start. As you have probably guessed, we need an Apex method to query for the accounts where the name contains the text entered in the box. So let's start by creating the Apex method. Just here. I already created a project on Visual Studio Code. Okay, now I'm just going to connect my developer org. I think it's, let me see, okay, this one. Okay, now we are connected. So I am going to create my Apex class. Just right click here and create Apex class. Let's call it account controller. Okay. Click enter. Okay. The Apex class is here, and they just put here a default constructor. I don't need that here, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, we need now a method that will query for the accounts that match the given name. So let's create our method. I'm going to call it get accounts. Okay, so public. And it's going to return a list of accounts. Okay. Call it accounts, and it's going to take the string entered in the box. So let's say it's let's call it a search key. Okay, and I'm just going to return. Okay, select ID. I need some fields like name and phone, industry maybe, websites, and I'm going to check my component. What else do I need here? Yes, I need the account name and the phone and the industry and the website. Okay, so I got all those. Where from account, where name is like, um, and I'm just going to put my wildcard here and then my 30 and another wildcard. Okay, um, okay, now my method here is almost done. An important thing that I should do is mark this method as Aura enabled. Okay, Aura enabled, and why do so? It's used to make our Apex method available in the Lightning Web Component. So if the method is not marked as Aura enabled, we won't be able to access it in Lightning. That's why I have to mark it as Aura enabled. I am also going to set cacheable to, and this is just to enhance the performance by showing cached data from the client side without waiting to receive it from the server. Final step here is to deploy my Apex class. Okay, so I'm just save it and right click, deploy. It's deploying. After this, the Apex class will be available in the org. Um, okay, I have a problem here. What's the problem? Oh, okay, why did I use void? Returning a list of accounts. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, now let's take a deeper look into the component. We have here three main blocks. One is where the user will enter the text, and we will use Lightning input for this one. The second is the button, okay, and we will use the Lightning button component for this. And the third is the table where the results will appear, and we will use Lightning data table for this one, okay. So now we will go create our Lightning web component, okay. So I'm going to go here to the directory of LWC and create Lightning Web Component. Let's call it, okay, maybe custom search or something. Okay. And okay, it's incredibly fast. So each Lightning Web Component must contain 3 folders. As you can see here, I am just going to like zoom in or something. Let's zoom in, okay, so you guys can see better. Okay, each component consists of 3 files. First is the HTML file, and this is where the markup goes between the template tags, okay, and this is where we will provide the structure of the component. The JavaScript file, and it's where the logic and event handling happens. It must include at least this code, okay, and this code here imports the Lightning element from the LWC module, And then it creates a JavaScript class that extends the lightning element, okay? And the third is the XML file, and they call this the configuration files, and it defines the metadata values for the component. Now let's go to our HTML to start putting the components. First, we'll do some layouting. I am going to add a lightning cord. Okay, and this lightning cord will act as a container for all my information. Okay. And it also like gives a white background, you know, the white background you see here, this is the lightning cord. I can also give it a title. So I am just going to give my lightning cord a title. We'll call it account search maybe. And this will display this white background with this title, account search, and none of the components are there yet. So let's start. Another thing I am doing is creating a lightning layout component. Okay, and this is a flexible system for arranging containers within a page. Okay. And inside the lightning layout, I am going to add 3 lightning layout items. Okay. One for the lightning input, one for the button, and the third one is for the table. So let's add it here 3 times. Okay. First one here is where my lightning input will go. I am going to give it a fixed width. Okay. So I'm going to here, let's say, put the size as 4 and add some padding, you know, to make it look nicer, you know, the spacing here between the components, so they are not like sticking to each other. Okay. Let's add this around small. And for the this one is for the lightning input. So using here lightning inputs. And here is the button. The other one here is for the button. And here is the table. I'm just going to adjust the spacing here. Okay. And I am going to also add some padding and size to the button. Okay, so let's say I am giving the button a size of 2, for example. Okay, and the table I will give it a size of 12 because that's because I wanted to take the whole width of the component. Okay. And in the current here lightning layout, I am going to say that multiple rows equal to true. And this here means that we are moving the layout items to the next line if they exceed the layout width, okay? And I am going to also make an alignment for my components, align them to end, okay? And this means, I'm going to show you here, it means that my lightning, my components here meet at the same end or are aligned at their end here, okay? Okay, let's add our lightning input here. So I'm going to say lightning input, okay? And I have some attributes I need to fill. We have the attribute type, which we will set to text. Sorry, I have to text. Okay, and I want you guys to know that Lightning Input Component supports other types as well, such as checkbox, date, URL, and email. and several other types. So it's not just strict to text. Okay, you can use your Lightning input to add a checkbox, for example. Okay, another attribute is label. Okay, and this is the label which will appear here. Okay, it's this text entered here, so I'm just going to take it as enter account name. Okay, enter account name, and another attribute is here is called value. Okay, value. And notice here that we have curly brackets, and this is because value is a variable. I am naming the variable to key. Okay, and this is to specify the variable that will hold the text entered in the box. So for example, if I enter here UNI, the key should have the text entered here in the box, which is UNI. Okay, so I'm naming it to key, and we will need this variable as we will pass it later to our apex method. And last attribute here is onChange. Okay, and here we will call an action. Let's say it's called update key. This function is called update key. Okay, and it will fire whenever the text in the Lightning input changes. Now, what will this update key exactly do? This is where we will jump to JavaScript. Okay, to add some logic in here. Okay. Maybe I will just zoom out because I can't. Okay, so we have added already our Lightning input. Okay, now let's go create the function called update key and create the variable called key and see what will this function do. Okay, so I am going to add here key, declare it as a variable here, and it's pretty easy with the JavaScript. Okay, and then I am going to fill my function called update key. So let's take it from here. Okay, and this function will okay, it will the input entered and will store it in the variable called key, and this is how it will do that. So I'm just going to say this dot key equals event dot target dot value. And I want you to know that event.target is a property which is part of the DOM API. I'm not going to give many details about this, but just know that with doing this, whenever the text, whenever the input changes in the Lightning input, okay, key will hold the updated value entered in the box. Okay. So I'm just saving it, and now we are done with the part of the Lightning input, but now we read our button. Okay. Okay. So let's go to our HTML. Okay. Let's add here the Lightning button. Okay. Here we also have some attributes that we need to fill. First, we have label, and this is the text that appears on the button. So I'm just calling it search. We call it search. Okay. And we will also have the attribute called onClick. And this will fire whenever we click on the button. So this would be also a JavaScript function. Let's call it handle search. Okay. And we also have need some styling, to add the blue color here. So this is how we do it. We use an attribute called variant. Okay, and set it to brand. And this will give us the blue styling. Okay. Okay, so now here we are done with HTML for the button. Now we should go to the JavaScript to call this function, and this JavaScript function should call the apex method. Okay, so I'm declaring it here. Okay, so between here I'm supposed to call the apex method because I want whenever the user clicks on the button to go search for the accounts and return the list of accounts on the table. Now, how to call an Apex method in Lightning Web Components? First, we import Apex method, okay, to use it as a JavaScript function. Then you have two options to call your JavaScript function. Either call it imperatively or using a wire service. In this example, I will call it imperatively, and then when I'm done, I will show you the difference, okay? So let's first go do the import, okay? It's also done in JavaScript. So let's go here. Okay. Yeah, sorry, import um, accounts, okay, uh, from, and this is how it goes here at Salesforce slash Apex, Salesforce slash Apex slash the Apex class. So we called it account controller. So I'll just type account controller dot the method which is called get accounts. Now I have successfully imported my Apex method, and now it can be used as a JavaScript function called getAccounts. So let's call it here imperatively. So this is how it's done. I am calling the function getAccounts and passing uh, a parameter called search key. You know, we had the search key, remember here? One. So I'm just saying here that search key to the search key my variable called key. Okay, this dot key. Okay, and then this JavaScript function returns a promise, which is dot then and dot catch. Okay, so this is basically what happens when you call a JavaScript function. That's the dot then and the dot catch, and in the dot then we specify what يعني if the result was successful, it's defined in the dot then, and if there is a problem, it happens in the dot catch. Okay, so here I am saying if it's successful, I am assigning the returned accounts an array of accounts here. So I must define here an array of accounts. Okay, so and I am going to use the at track decorator. Now, what is the at track decorator and why is it not supported? Because I didn't import it. I must import it before using it. Okay, so I will just import it. Okay, and here the error is gone. Okay, and then I will say this accounts returns in the result. Okay, let's call this result. Assign them to the list of accounts. This accounts equals to results. Okay, and if there's a problem, or an error, just empty the array of accounts. Just use this dot accounts to null. Now, don't worry, I'm not ignoring the attract decorator. I am going to explain for you right now what this specifically means. Okay, so by default, all fields are reactive except objects and arrays. Okay, and what does it mean to be reactive? A variable being reactive means that if a field's value changes in JavaScript, the component re-renders and displays the new value in the HTML. So in my case, everything is reactive except for array and object. So why did I use the attract decorator for the list of accounts returned? That's because it's an object. Okay, so it's not reactive. I need to make it reactive in order to um, track the changes made in JavaScript and reflect it on the HTML. Okay, so that's why I used the attract decorator for the accounts. The last component, okay, here is the lightning data table. Okay, so let's go to the HTML and create a lightning data table. Okay, and here also we have some needed attributes that we need to fill. We have the attribute called the key field. Okay, and this is to specify a unique ID for each row. Okay, it's a required attribute. And we have the data, or my data, which in this case is the list of accounts. So I'm going to pass the accounts here. Okay. And last we have the columns. I need also to specify the columns, like the ones here. I have account name, phone, industry, and website, so I need to specify those in an array. Let's call it columns. Okay, and let's go. Now I have my accounts already, and I have specified a unique ID for each row. What is left here is to specify the columns. So let's go to JavaScript. Okay. Here columns equal to an array. Okay, and let's say here and I want you to know that each column must have three properties: label, okay, field name, and type. Okay, label is the label that will appear on on top of the table. Let's call the first one account name, and field name is the API name of the field. Let's call it. It's already called name. Okay, and the type here is text. And I want you to know that there are several other types supported as well, such as phone, URL, date, and others. Okay, this is the first column, the account name. I have left to do the phone, the industry, and the website. So I'm just going to copy this here. Okay, phone, industry, website. Okay, this will be phone. And the type here will be, I'll make it phone. And the industry has the same API name, okay, and the type is text. And last is the website, okay, also has the same API name. and the type here is URL, and it's the type here makes the styling. So, for example, for phone, it makes this kind of styling. For website, it gives it the look and feel of the type. Okay, so my component right now is ready. I have the three main components. Okay, I have my JavaScript. I called my function. I returned my list of accounts. So everything by now is ready. So let's deploy it. Okay, I'm just going to see what's the problem here. Okay, maybe it's nothing. Okay, so I was just going to right click and deploy. Okay, let's go to my developer org. I am going to add my component to the home page. Okay, you could add it on any type of page like record page or app page, but for this example, I'm just uh, adding it to my home page. Okay, pressing on the gear icon and saying edit page. And it should appear under the custom components here, but I cannot find it. Why why am I not finding my component? It's because I forgot to do something very important. Okay, let's go to the VS Code. Remember the XML file where the metadata configuration here appears, and this okay defines the metadata values for the component, and this includes the design configuration for the Lightning App Builder. Okay. The reason we didn't see an option to add our Lightning Web Component is that is exposed is set to false. Okay, I must set it to true to be able to use the component in the Lightning App Builder. And also, I must do another important thing is to add a target. Okay, adding target. Okay, target targets. Okay. Now, in this target tag, I must include at least one target. Okay, so if my target here is the Lightning homepage, okay, I must add it. Okay, Lightning home page. Okay, and I think this is. Okay. And I'm going to close the target tag. Okay, and try deploying again. I must add at least one target. In my case, I need to add the component to the home page, so I'm adding the home page as a target. Going here, refreshing, and let's try checking again. Yes, it's here. It appeared. Okay, let's add it here. Okay, change saved. Okay, here's the beautiful component. Let's try searching, for example, A. Okay, it displays all the accounts which its name contains the letter A. Let's try Edge, and it will display only the Edge communications and so on. Now we have seen how to call the Apex method. We've seen how to call it imperatively. Now we are moving on to the wire service. Now, what is wire service? Wire service is built on Lightning Data Service, and Lightning Data Service is the preferred and easiest way to work with Salesforce data. As you can see, it's built on the user interface API, okay, which offers a lot of advantages like security and maintaining up-to-date data and metadata. Wire service supports reactive variables, and this is where we use the dollar sign to mark the variable as reactive. And reactive here means whenever the value of the variable changes, the wire service fetches new data, okay? Also, to improve performance, the Lightning data service maintains client-side cache of record data that has been loaded via wire adapter. That's why setting cacheable to true here is a must. Okay, so notice that it was not obligatory while calling the function imperatively. Okay, but here, if you are using wire service to call Apex method, it must be marked as cacheable to true. Okay, so let's go to the code to see this in action. I am going to remove everything related to the button, but I'm not going to tell you why now. So I'm just going to comment the section of the button. Here, okay. So I remove the button from my component, and I will remove it from the JavaScript. So this is the function that is called onClick of the button. So I'll just comment it also. And now let's go through the steps of calling a wire service. As mentioned here, it's the import is a common step for both. So I'm keeping the import as is, okay. And the second step is to call it using wire. So I'm just going to go in here and say at wire, okay. And between brackets, call my Apex function, which is called get accounts. Okay, so get accounts here. Okay, and I am going to pass the variable called key to the search key as I did before, but this time it's reactive. So we will prefix it with a dollar sign and say key. And the returned result should be a list of accounts. I'm going to use the same one here, okay? And like here or like in a new line, so whichever is suitable. So I'm just going to specify the return array here and semicolon, okay? Now you might think we are finished, but there is one thing left with the wire service. Okay. Now here, when I call the Apex method and return the list of accounts, the list of accounts returned, it has okay, sorry, what happened here? It has two shapes. Okay, one is data, and data is the value returned from the function if there is any. Okay, and the other one is error. And error will hold the error if the function wasn't able to supply the requested data. So if the list of accounts are returned successfully, it will be available in accounts.data. And if there is an error occurred, it will be available in accounts.error. And if there is an error occurred also, this will mean that accounts.data will be undefined. So I am going to do this simple thing here in my HTML. So accounts here means nothing. I have to say accounts.data. And let's deploy this and see the wire service in action. Deploy. And it's deployed successfully. Let's go here to the component and refresh. Okay, let's try searching. Let's enter U. And notice what's happening here. It's very interesting. What's happening here is that I think you have a very important question to ask. When does the Apex method fire? Okay, previously when we called it imperatively, it fired when we clicked the button. Okay, um, now it's firing when the variable changes, when the variable call key changes. Okay, so it's done, and it's done with incredible performance. Whenever the key changes, it's automatically reflected, and it calls the wire service. Okay, so I think this is very interesting, and I am very happy with the performance here. Um, you might I'm by doing this I'm done building both. You might want to ask another question is uh, um, when to call the method imperatively and when to use the wire service. Okay, so the answer here depends on your requirement, meaning if you want more control on calling the apex method, you should call it imperatively, like we did in the first example. We fired the method when the button was clicked. With wire service, you have less control, as it calls the method when the reactive variable changes value. So you have no control over when to call the apex method. That's why you should evaluate the requirements and then decide which one to use. Okay. Uh, One last thing I will mention is that there are two ways to call the wire service. Um, one, the first way is the decorate the property with the at wire. Okay, and this is the one that you have seen. The other way is to decorate the function with the at wire service. As you can see here, this means it's pretty similar, but the difference here also depends on the requirement. Okay, because here you can perform logic when the data is returned successfully. So you say if data, so means if there is existing data returned successfully, then do some kind of other logic, maybe call another apex function or display a message or any other logic that you might want to add. Also, you can perform logic if an error is returned in the same way, else if error, and then like add your logic, whatever your logic might be in here. Okay, so I think it's pretty similar. It also depends on your requirement. I'm not going to perform decorating a function with @wire, but maybe I will leave it up to you guys to do it, and maybe tell me your feedback after you are done with this. I think I have reached the end of my presentation. I hope that this يعني benefited you, and I intended to make it light for people who are beginning to start with the Lightning Web Components. Thank you guys for listening.